Welcome to this edition of Newsnight with the old man of the clan, Andrew Mwenda, and also CEO of the Independent magazine. Tonight we discuss something that's been appearing in the media and most importantly in the Independent magazine. And I thought Andrew would help us understand what's been happening. One, we have heard that government is proposing to buy back Bujagali Dam, that is Bujagali Energy Limited, to buy out Bujagali Energy Limited and then re-own or repossess Bujagali Dam. Well, to help us understand that and what's really happening in the market is Andrew Mwenda. Andrew, welcome. I know you were away last week.
You should hold the magazine like this.
That you will start paying for this. Andrew, let's discuss this.
Why do you want to put a product you don't want to show?
Well, let's discuss this. Well, every time we mention where you work, it's clearly an advert. Yeah, but let's mention this. There's two schools of thought. There's the first school of thought that believes that government should repossess several other, institutions or,
among them the dam at Bujagali.
Among them the dam at Bujagali. But
and
this,
the other that
this
should
is,
remain the private hands.
yeah, but this caused an alarm in another section of people who said government long time ago relinquished all they had to do in business, especially with the liberalization of the private sector. And this shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have government running, energy projects, huge investments like Bujagali Dam. Yeah, but why would people be thinking about it?
I have learned over time of participating in these public debates that when you put assets into private hands, the many people who want to contribute to public debate, they lose control.
Yes.
And people don't want to lose control. Assuming you said, let's privatize NSSF. In other words, there should be a private company running NSSF.
Yes.
It means if you're a heckler on Facebook, you will not have
any control,
any power.
Yes.
And
demand.
Parliament will have, you see, Parliament right now has no say on what Barclays Bank is doing, on what Standard Chartered Bank is doing, and what the Crane Bank is doing. They will have no power to yell and heckle over NSSF. They will have no, like Umeme, they have no control over it. Even these dams, they have no control over it. And let me tell you, it is Ugandan public control over these government institutions that promotes corruption. While in Sweden, maybe it promotes proper accountability.
Yes.
The experience we have in our country is that public oversight over these institutions tended to create patronage and corruption. So therefore, if you want this government to perform very well, begin moving resources from the state towards the private sector. That is why in the specific case of Uganda, I support privatization. You have seen the privatization of electricity distribution created Umeme. Now Umeme is valued at $380 million on the stock exchange. It has assets worth $400 million. It is making profits $178 billion. This is a company that was depending on state subsidies. Look how it is performing so well today. Now look at the Stanbic Bank, which took over from Uganda Commercial Bank.
Yeah.
Look at MTN when we had the, you go and check the mess at UTL and look at how MTN is performing. So regardless of the weaknesses of the private sector, companies like MTN, Stanbic Bank, Umeme, they have shown that the best road is the private sector. Now let's come to Bujagali. There is wrong information being provided. You were about to ask me that question.
Yes.
To the president, to the parliament, to everybody, that government-produced electricity will be cheaper. First, Naluvale and Owen Falls Dam or Kira Dam produce electricity at 2 to 3 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yes.
Because one was constructed in the 90s, another one in the 1950s. They have recovered the cost of loans, the cost of everything has been reduced, and at the time of construction it was very cheap. So what we are paying for are operational costs. Do you get it? Bujagali was constructed between 2007 and 2012.
Yes.
So there are the following costs. You need to pay return of the equity the investor put in, which is about $300 million. And that equity is in the concession agreement, which is around the power purchase agreement, which is about 19% rate of return on the dollar. It's fixed. 2, you must pay interest on loans that the private investor took to build the dam. Remember, that is another $600 million of loans and $300 million of the shareholder capital. Then the third element is you have to pay operating costs. That is what determines the tariff. Now, let us do a comparison.
And the tariff is currently at 11.
The tariff is currently at 11 per kilowatt hour.
Yes.
And after they have finished repaying the loans, which is in about 8 to 12 years, 8 to 12 years, the tariff will fall to 7.8 cents per kilowatt hour, which is internationally competitive. And this is what Ugandans do not know. But let me give you the actual figures because I have them on my phone. You see, these people built this dam. They are selling electricity to the government of Uganda for the next 30 years. And the average tariff over a period of, let's say, 30 years is going to be around about, let me say 11 cents per kilowatt hour over the period of the dam.
The concession. Yes.
Of the concession.
Yes.
Is going to be 8.8 cents per kilowatt hour. After the end of that concession, the plant will be transferred to the great government of Uganda at what price?
$0.
$1. $1.
As good as $0.
Do you get it?
Yes.
Because whenever you're buying something, there must be some consideration.
Yes.
That's the $1 they're going to buy it for. So government of Uganda, a private investor invested, you are selling the electricity to me, the consumer, I'm paying for it, and then after 30 years, you get it for free. It is like me having my piece of land and saying, you build for me a house there, live in it for 5 years or 10 years, after that you give it to me. I don't have money to build a house on my plot of land. You spend your 5 billion, you build for me a mansion. After 10 years, the mansion will reverse to me and I pay you $1. Isn't that a good deal?
It is.
But let us look at comparative prices. So me, being an old man of the clan, I decided to do some mathematics.
Yes.
You see, if you get Karuma, which government plans to get less price, and it is going to be a 50-year dam, right? And you get the tariff, and you get Bujagali and also make it 50 years, the tariff, and Isimba. Right now, you see at Bujagali, they don't sell all the electricity that is supposed to be produced, the capacity. Although they have 250 megawatts, government or Uganda Electricity Transmission Company asks them at peak hours, give us 250 megawatts. But for most of the time,
it's under 200 because our demand is less than supply, current total supply.
In technical terms, that is called plant factor.
Yes, we have
plant factor is the volume of the percentage of megawatts of installed capacity you're going to use.
Yes.
Bujagali, they are using right now 62.5%. So that is what increases the tariff. They are selling less electricity than the capacity. So you have to pay capacity charges. You get what I mean?
I mean, just the same as I remember when they were signing an agreement with the government and they said the money they had to pay for loss of energy that is not being paid for. Yeah.
So if government from morning to evening, 24/7, they were asking for
250
megawatts. Say this is your installed capacity. Give us 250 non-stop throughout. Do it 24/7, right? And over a period of 50 years, the Bujagali tariff would be 4.13 cents per kilowatt hour. That would be the actual price, because even at the 62.5%, if Bujagali was stretched to 50 years, the price is 6.6 cents per kilowatt hour over a period of 50 years. That is the actual tariff in the power purchase agreement that exists today, if you stretch it to 50 years. Now, Karuma, at 62.5% stretched over 50 years, the tariff would be 8.52 cents per kilowatt hour. Isimba, it would be 10.55. Still, Bujagali, although privately owned, is the cheapest dam. Now, if you said these factors, the plant factor is 100%. They are operating at full capacity throughout the day, 24/7. Bujagali, over 50 years, would be 4.13. Karuma would be 5.33. Isimba, 6.60 cents per kilowatt hour.
Bujagali would still remain.
It will be the cheapest.
Cheapest because at 4.4.
Yes, and I was telling you, under the current plant factor of 2.5, it is still the cheapest. So I don't know why the government of Uganda is being led to this argument that if you have it under government control, electricity will be cheaper. If they want to subsidize electricity, they don't need to own Bujagali. They can simply pay this money to Uganda Electricity Transmission Company to subsidize.
Yes. All right, Andrew, we must end it here because we really have run out of time. But there will be a discussion on what the cost tariff should be at the moment because of the existing costs and the increasing costs of living. There should be also a debate on how much energy we need, because currently we have a surplus in energy supply vis-a-vis demand. But we also know we have a 50% growth in demand every year.
In real terms, let me tell you, Boris, the electricity market is more complex than that. We don't have a surplus. What we have is that at peak hour, we need a lot of electricity. So at peak hour, we don't have actually a surplus. We have.
So you think we have about 650, 670 megawatts we are using at peak?
You see the problem of electricity, yes, assuming you have installed a capacity of 700 megawatts.
Yeah, we have close to 700.
Or 700.
Yes.
For most of the time, you may be using 500, but it's at peak hours, which is between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m.
Yeah.
That is your peak. The peak, you may be demanding 700. But immediately the peak ends, you fall back to consuming 450 megawatts. So the question is, what do you do with excess capacity of 250 at non-peak time? Right. Because if you say we will produce 450 at peak time, you'll have a shortage.
Yes.
Do you get it?
Yes.
But so in other words, you must always produce more electricity than you demand under normal circumstances because of the peak hour. At peak, you have very high demand. Now, when the peak goes off, you have a lot of excess capacity you're not using. How do you pay? You pay what they are called capacity charges. That is what increases the tariff.
All right, we must end it here. All right, and that really wraps up Newsnight for tonight.